Hi. So now that we're done, at least sort of theoretically, reading the mystery text, it's appropriate to kind of go back and think about what this lesson really was supposed to teach us. Um, what was it supposed to teach us? Oedipus is one of the oldest stories known to humanity. It was told Um, it comes from an oral tradition. It is told by probably by shepherds around campfires, um, and then it is part of the Greek religion. And so, a lot of people, when we're asking in the third section, asking kind of hard questions about message and meaning, well, we're really thinking about author, audience, and use. So who's the author of this mystery text? Well, Nussbaum is a sort of a creative writer, right? The guy who actually puts the story into license plates. That's an author of this story. Some students would say that it's Sophocles, who the Greek playwright who kind of has the first modern version that we have as modern people. It's funny to think of as modern; he's an ancient, but you know, it's a written version that has been preserved for us. But he's already writing about something that was genuinely, truly ancient um, when he was treating it. Um, so the priests are an author of this. The culture that tells it is an author in a sense. And why do I keep saying priests? Well, when this play, for who knows, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years, um, this play and plays like it were not entertainment. They were religious experiences. There would have been initiatic, mysterious rites. There would have been sort of a cult that, if you will, that performed these plays as religious rituals, religious services. And the audience was supposed to contemplate the mysteries of this religious story. I mean, just the way that perhaps Muslims contemplate the Quran, or Christians the life story of Jesus, um, or in Judaism, the Passover, and the story of Moses taking the children. These are stories that could be told for entertainment purposes, but there are, they teach the audience, they teach the congregants something about the relationship between man and the universe. Say man, human beings in the universe. Excuse me. Um, what does Oedipus say about the relationship between human beings and the universe? This is tricky. One reason why it's tricky is because it is so unpleasant, right? Um, and that which is kind of brings us back to that third action of academic reading. In this exercise, we'll call it a level because I wanted to kind of have people just once sort of try and go through it in a certain order. But going forward, of course, you're going to be juggling or toggling, as we said in previous videos, between the four actions. So that third action, considering the intentions of the author and the audience and the use of this message, Um, what was the point? Why would you tell people this story? All right, so let's take a second to think about what the story actually is. For those of you who were doing the second level or second action of academic reading, reference and illusion, at a high level, you probably didn't just look up those four words I gave you: Oedipus, Thebes, Sphinx, and Surus, right? The first three words, Oedipus, Thebes, the Sphinx, totally give away. If you look them up, maybe you didn't understand these license plates at all. But if you were looking at the reader's response document and you just isolate those words and look them up, it tells you everything you need. You win right there. Just answering that one question, looking up those words, those three words. Truth be told, Surus. If you didn't get Surus, oh well. It's a Yiddish word that means sort of agitation or angst, right? Major troubles, major pains. But anyway, if you're performing those actions of this on the second level assiduously, Greek mythology, like any religious pantheon, is bewilderingly networked, and they're sort of rhizomatically linked principles and forces in character form. And if you have never really delved into Greek mythology, do yourself a favor and do so. And it doesn't have to be. You can start easy. You can start cheesy. You can just do a Wikipedia crawl at first and see what tickles your fancy, and then read more deeply on that. That's what Wikipedia is good for, after all. And if this is your first entrance into Greek mythology, it is bewilderingly involving. So the story of Oedipus, of course, the whole thing about the story of Oedipus is that it doesn't really start with Oedipus, and it doesn't really even end with Oedipus. It's a classic literary form, literary technique called in media res, in the middle of things. When you'll notice that some of the best movies that you will ever watch or books you'll ever read don't try to go back to some sort of originary moment. It starts in media res, in the middle of things. And say, for example, Star Wars, Episode 4, I guess, first, the one released in 1977. It doesn't go back to, they don't start with the rise of the Empire and all that stuff. It's all you see is a big ship swallowing a little ship, and there are robots running around, and Darth Vader. You're thrown right into the action, right? And there are a couple of ways in which Oedipus starts in the middle of things. Oedipus himself is kind of stuck in transit between two states his whole life, really. I say stuck, which is ironic because he's wanted. Oedipus, the name means sore foot. And there's so many different ways that resonates, as we'll see. But one of the ways that it resonates is that he's a wanderer for much of his life. So he's kind of in his whole life is sort of between 2 points. Anyway, so where does the story start for Oedipus? Well, his father was a bad guy. His father was a guy named Laius, also a king of Thebes. And he was a great athlete and a great coach in Greek mythology. Just like there were actually Olympic games in the real historical Greece, there were mythological games called the Nemean Games. And Oedipus's father Laius was a great, a great coach, if you will. But he's also a really bad guy. And talk about, the more things change, these ancient principles. Anybody who's familiar with sort of some of the horrible scandals that have been going on in college and amateur sports, say for example with the Penn State, I forget the guy's name, Sandusky, I think, or oh my gosh, or the what happened with the women's gymnastics team and Larry Nasser. Well, the same thing happens in Greek mythology. This guy Laius abuses one of his star athlete, Chrysippus, and the gods curse him for his crime. And he's a drinker, and they say basically, you can't do these things anymore, or your punishment will be that well, it's basically a punishment already. Your punishment is that you cannot have any children. And if you do have children, there will be terrible, terrible consequences. You'll only be able to have one child, and that child will murder you and commit incest with your wife. Whoa, right? So I guess we're not going to have kids, but of course Laius is a bad guy. So and he's a drinker, and he gets inebriated one night, and he abuses his wife, named Jocasta, later to be Oedipus's wife, and they have a child, Oedipus. Well, Laius, being a bad guy, thinks, I know a way around this curse. I'll kill the child that is destined to kill me, and commit incest with my wife. So they take the child out into the wilderness, and they nail it to the side of a hill through its ankles. Oedipus, sore foot. And problem solved, right? But of course not. So in Sophocles' tale, once you get to in media res, it really doesn't. Not only is Oedipus' whole story kind of like between stories, and we'll talk about what comes after Oedipus briefly. In Sophocles' story, it starts with he's already king, and everything is sort of told kind of backwards around him as he's realizing what's happened. But for our purposes here, we can kind of follow it chronologically. Oedipus, of course, does not die on the hillside. A shepherd comes along, pulls out the pin, almost like leaving a couch on the side of a road, right? Somebody left a perfectly good child here. And so that's exactly what they do. The shepherd takes the child back home and raises it as a shepherd. But one thing that's true in Greek mythology, and still kind of true today, actually, is that when someone is going to be special, we look, when someone turns out to be special, or we want someone to be special, we look for all kinds of wonders in their childhood. If someone's going to be special, there must have been some sort of clue in their childhood. Well, in Greek mythology, this is doubly true because in ancient Greek mythology, all the rulers of the various city-states are descended one way or another from gods or supernatural beings, right? If you go far enough back in the family tree, somebody's daughter was seduced by Zeus or Apollo or Poseidon, right? And that's why they're fit to rule, because they're a little bit more than human, right? The heroes are descended from gods, right? There's actually a passage in the Bible that mirrors this very closely in Genesis. But anyway, Oedipus is a child of wonder, and the shepherd says, this child is not destined to be a shepherd. So he takes him to his king, who is a good king. In Greek mythology, there are kind of good cities and bad cities. Thebes is sort of a rough neighborhood. Bad things happen to and in Thebes. But Corinth is sort of a good city. Good things happen to and from come out of Corinth. So Oedipus is taken to Polybus, the king of Corinth, and lives a charmed life. He grows up to be a good boy. And he's warned that there is a prophecy that he will kill his father and commit incest with his mother. Well, he doesn't want to do that, of course. So he runs away and has adventures. Two of the most significant ones are directly related to the story, and we'll stick to those. The first is that young prince of Corinth, physically powerful. He's a hero. Oedipus is technically a Greek hero. He does all the things a Greek hero does. He's descended from a god. He defeats monsters. He rules cities, that kind of thing. We'll talk about that. But anyway, he's walking down the road, wandering, sorefoot, and a man in a chariot comes at him. Some versions it's a bridge, and some versions it's a very narrow pass. There's a reason why one of them is going to ask the other to yield, to give way. But neither will. They're both proud. One is the Prince of Corinth, and the other, we'll find out, is the King of Thebes, Oedipus's father, who he's never seen. And the guy, in some versions, runs over Oedipus's foot with the chariot, giving him offense, sore foot. And Oedipus, given offense, they fight, and Oedipus kills him, not realizing he has fulfilled half of the prophecy by slaying his own father, who was a bad guy. He slayed a monster, right? But he has already fulfilled. He's murdered his father. And in Greek mythology, even no matter how bad your father is, it is a patricide. The gods hate that. They treat that with a special abhorrence. It is a crime against God, the gods. So anyway, and that sets in certain events into in train. One is that the gods are going to punish Thebes for having a murdered king that has gone unavenged, not properly buried, not properly mourned, because he's just gone. Nobody knows who killed him. So the gods are going to punish Thebes with a number of curses, but for our purposes, primarily the Sphinx. Now, some people look up the Sphinx and find the statue in Egypt, which is interesting because there are two Thebes. There's a Thebes in Egypt. There's a Thebes in Greece. And if you're digging deep enough, Egypt is the older civilization, and a lot of Greek wisdom knowledge can be traced back to Egypt. Even in Platonic dialogue, Socrates speaks of Egyptian sages and stuff like that. But you don't have to take Plato's word for it. There are lots of references and crossovers. But anyway, the Thebes in Greece is the one we're interested in. The Sphinx, actually probably the Egyptian statue by the Giza pyramids was not called the Sphinx. That's sort of a Western projection onto Egyptian civilization. But the Sphinx has the body of a lion and the head of a beautiful woman, and its superpower, if you will, is that it can force you to answer riddles or attempt to answer riddles. And if you are incapable, it will drink your soul. So anyway, destroy you. So anyway, the city is under siege. People can't come in, people can't come out. The Sphinx is destroying people. Oedipus comes along and is asked the riddle of the Sphinx. And if you don't know the riddle of the Sphinx, looking up the Sphinx, you probably should have come across it. It's one of the oldest riddles known to humanity, and that is what goes on 4 points in the morning, 2 at noon, and 3 at close of day, right? And of course, the answer is a human being, or specifically in this case, I believe Oedipus says man, but it's a human being. It's a baby crawls on all fours. In the prime of life, we are on 2 feet, and at the end of our life, we walk with the aid of a stick, which is, so life, the span of life, it's a metaphor, it's an involved metaphor. Life is likened to the span of a single day, and our condition to how many feet we have on the ground, how many points we have on the ground. Oedipus pops the Sphinx. He's celebrated as a hero, and the people say, "Hey, you're a hero. You are obviously descended from a god. You're Prince of Corinth. Why don't you come in and we have you're eligible, and our job is open because our king has disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to him, and he has a beautiful young wife here." So Oedipus just sort of slides right into his fate. Now, a messenger comes and informs Oedipus that he needs to come home for the funeral of his father, Polybus. Oedipus says he can't because of the prophecy. He can't be anywhere near his mother. He doesn't know how, he doesn't know why, but just to be safe, the gods work in incredibly mysterious ways. Just to be safe, he just shouldn't be anywhere near his parents, even if they're dying. He just shouldn't be near them. And the messenger drops a bombshell. Don't worry about that. They weren't your biological parents. Huh. So who were my biological parents? The investigations reveal, of course, what you already know, that in trying to escape his fate, he fulfilled it. And like I say, so Oedipus is sort of between two stories. He has that sort of talking heads moment of, this is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. And he essentially commits suicide, basically. I mean, he blinds himself and becomes catatonic. He just sort of, takes the long way out, but he just gives up on life. And so his sons enter into a civil war. They initially agree to share the throne, but one son says, well, you know what? Instead of sharing it, there always needs to be an ultimate authority. So we'll alternate years. I'll be king for a year, then you'll be king for a year. Well, that sounds fine. But at the end of the first year, he says to his brother, kings can make up whatever laws they deem just, right? Because that's the way it works. And so he says, well, I am going to pass a law that our agreement is null and void. So the other brother's, all right, so it's war. He goes and gets an army of 7 generals, and they destroy Thebes, basically. They kill each other in the process. Gods hate that too, brother killing brother. So they're not allowed to be buried. One of the brothers, there are 2 brothers and 2 sisters. One of the sisters, Antigone, buries the brothers anyway, spreads dust over their corpses, because she can't bear the thought of their souls wandering the earth if they're not properly buried. So, but she's been warned not to do that, and so the people kill her. They brick her up in a house, and she starves to death. The second sister disappears in mythology. There's some indication that maybe she some like a whisper that she married a bad man, but we don't really know. But she just kind of disappears from mythology. But with that, the line of Laius ends. The prophecy is fulfilled. All right, so that's the story. Of course, you're not going to get that all from license plates, right? The license plates just evoke that. And, we'll talk a little bit more about that actually in a future lecture. This video is already quite long, and I'm going to wrap it up. But why? Why would you tell someone this story? What kind of lesson are people supposed to learn from this? Well, if you think about it, there's a lot of information here about our relationship with the universe. We're basically warned that you can't escape fate, that we're all that the universe is hostile. Whatever, the gods, the universe, however you want to put it, right? The forces of the universe are kind of out. It's already baked in. You're done for. There's going to be suffering. There's going to be crimes. There's going to be terrible, terrible evil in the world that you can't do anything about. And the more you struggle against it, the worse you're going to make it. All you can really do is submit to the will of the gods and try to be pious, try to follow the will of the gods. That's basically, that's basically it. To accept the horror, and you're not even mitigating it. Your duty is to be pious and to submit to the will of the gods. Perform the rituals, go through the motions, but basically, accept your fate. Now, this, of course, is, I'm going to point something out here. This, of course, is incredibly self-serving if you are a king or a priest in ancient Greece. Well, sure, there are crimes. Sure, there are problems, but it's the will of the gods. Everything is broken. We're all doomed to die, suffer. There's nothing you can do about it. So get used to the idea and obey me, the king and the priest says. But of course, that's not what people did in ancient Greece, at least not in the parts of ancient Greece that we're most interested in as modern people. The parts of ancient Greece that probably have the most effect on civilization and could enable some people to contribute to world civilization, right? Like what's the answer there? Well, this class is going to focus on, right around the time of Sophocles, what some people started to do, which is actually reject this idea that that is around the two central questions at the heart of Western civilization. Other civilizations have different questions, different problems, but in Western civilization, there are kind of two big problems: the problem of evil and power. Why do bad things happen? That's a weird thing when you think about it. Why does the universe seem to be broken? Why do people get sick and die? Why is there injustice? Why do people who have done nothing wrong suffer? Oedipus didn't do anything wrong. Literally, he did nothing wrong. He was trying to do good. At no point when he was committing a crime did he know it was a crime, right? It was, it's a terrifying story in a lot of ways. That you can do horrible, terrible things and have no idea that you're doing them, which of course is entirely possible in our own lives. That's not old or done with. So what's the evil? Why do bad things happen? Why is time destroying everything? Why are we all going to be dust and forgotten someday? Why is love answered with indifference or hate? Why are we so weak? the problems of evil. And then, of course, there's the problem of power, which seems closely related. What can human beings really do? Do we have freedom? Are we trapped? Why is humanity so weak, fragile, foolish? So the problem of power, right? How do you get more power as a person? What are you supposed to do with power when you have it? What is the nature of power? We're going to be reading a lot of aphorisms about that in our next assignment. So these are the two problems. Well, in ancient Greece, one of the reasons why we're talking about that in this class is that people were reading stories like this, coming out of a culture like this. You're doomed. You're trapped in fate. Just obey the priests and the kings. And they rejected that. And so people called philosophers, there's something called a metacognitive revolution. Metacognition. It's the basis of critical thinking. This class will introduce you to critical thinking as a tool for writing and academic reading. In some ways, it's probably the most important thing we'll be doing in this class, is introducing you to the principles of critical thinking and how to use it rhetorically. And they reject this idea of, they start to actually try and answer these problems. Why is there evil? Well, for thousands of years, maybe, people have been saying fate, magic, we're trapped, get used to it. Power, kings have it, priests have it. They're basically channeling the will of the gods, and, do they really have it, therefore? And there is no freedom, and there's nothing you can really do. Sorry. Well, the critical thinking starts to take these things that have been just accepted for thousands of years and start to ask hard questions. Why? Is there any other explanation than just, a man sitting on a cloud with a thunderbolt did it? Why do people get sick? The man on the cloud with the thunderbolt wanted you to be sick, right? Well, what if there's a disease that we could cure? Why is this person a slave and this person a king? What if a man on the cloud with a thunderbolt isn't the answer? What if there's injustice that can be redeemed, that can be corrected? What if we can behave more justly towards each other? What if we can organize our societies more equitably? Why wouldn't we? These kind of basic questions. So philosophers, people like Socrates, start to replace the problem of evil and power with pursuits of freedom and wisdom, right? So evil, in critical thinking, is largely a problem of ignorance. If we knew better, we'd do better, right? And power is largely replaced with the problem of freedom. How can we gain control over ourselves to do the right thing and make the world a little bit better, day by day, solving discrete problems? Maybe you can't, maybe we're not going to solve the problem of time. Maybe we're not going to, discover the secrets of immortality necessarily, but just day by day, maybe we can cure that disease. Maybe we can, alter the landscape so that river doesn't flood and destroy the village every year, and solve these problems. And I would like to point out, this is the end of the lecture, I promise, so hang on with me for 1 second. Another reason why I read this at the beginning of the year is not just to start to look at those kinds of issues as an introduction to critical thinking. What if we aren't trapped in our fate? What if we can answer questions in ways that improve our lives and the lives of our communities? You as a student have already sort of made part of your choice on this. I'm not suggesting that there's no such thing as destiny or fate. There may be a big rock hurtling towards the earth, set in motion billions of years ago, that none of us, that we have a date with in the future, and nothing can change that. I don't know, right? But that doesn't actually mean that you can't have freedom of your own life today, power over your own decisions today, and behave justly and more rationally today. And you, as a student, whether you're conscious of it or not, have already started to make that choice. And you're my hero for making that choice. That a student is a person who gets up every day and believes that something they are going to learn in a classroom is going to change their life for the better, enable them to get a better job, enable them to provide for their family, enable them to aid their community, to provide a valuable service to their people in whatever capacity that is. And that's every student. Of course, there are some students, and I don't know who you are yet, but there are some students who take it even further and believe that knowledge itself can make the world a better place. And let's face it, just if we each tend our own garden, even just improving one little part of the world improves. It's all of a part. So if you've improved one part of the world, you've improved the world in at least one part. And a student makes that choice. You've decided already that you will not be trapped in your fate. And thank you for making that decision. We'll talk a little bit more about the license plates part of this when we're talking about aphorisms, which will be the next video, which will not be this long. But I hope you understand a little bit about why I asked you to read this first, and I want to know what you think. So please send me a message and contribute to the discussion if you haven't already. All right, thank you.